What people are wearing in Tokyo. Tokyo fashion is on another level. No one beats Asians in fashion, to be honest. The way they walk, though.
Alright, fun's over. The glazing needs to stop. Like, come on, man. These are basic fits. With such a provocative thumbnail and title, I'd like to give some disclaimers before I start the video, because most of the people on this channel that comment don't ever watch the full video, and then I proceed to address one of their points in the video. My personal position on this channel has always been to analyze the whys of why things are the way they are and to call out systems and broader tendencies. This video is not being made to try and send hate to any nationalities or ethnicities, but rather to call out behaviors and rhetoric I've seen online that obstruct beneficial conversations. Also, before dumbasses start commenting racist dumb shit like a Pajit made this, I'm not Indian, not Japanese, and despite some theories, I'm not a reptilian either. Or am I? But anyway, let's get into the video. Like many young people, Japanese culture has had a huge impact on my style and media consumption. I mean, my top viewed videos on this channel analyze Japanese media, and my room is decorated with it. To loop back to my original disclaimer, this is not a hit piece on all Japanese people. However, besides their cool cars, animes, video games, and fashion, Japan has a darker side that is often minimized or sanitized. This bias is often rooted in concepts such as fetishism, consumer culture, and the model minority myth, which I'll explain a bit later. Firstly, there's the prevalent fetishization of Japanese culture, the way that elements of Japanese identity, whether it's the aesthetic, the traditions, or even the stereotypes, are often reduced to a set of cool elements to be consumed by outsiders. When it comes to the fetishization of Japanese culture, it's not just about admiring the aesthetic or unique aspects of their traditions. Even when discussing literal commodities, this becomes apparent. Times Square and rampant advertising in the United States are often described as dystopian and capitalist brainwashing. But when it's a bunch of futuristic anime billboards and Hello Kitty ads, it's super cool and aesthetically pleasing. High school shows in the United States are seen as corny or unrealistic, but when it's a slice of life anime about Japanese high schoolers, there's just something different about it somehow. There's a popular tendency to cherry pick elements of Japanese culture that are seen as cool in order to consume what feels exotic and different. This is where the fetishization problem arises. It reduces a multifaceted culture to a set of shiny marketable commodities, whether that's the quirky fashion trends, beautiful landscapes, or iconic anime characters. This reductionist approach becomes even more problematic when we compare it to how other Asian cultures like South Korea are similarly sanitized in the global spotlight. South Korea has been undergoing a similar process, especially in the West, where its culture is often boiled down to the glossy, meticulously curated world of K-pop. Meanwhile, they struggle with issues like horrible work schedules, low birth rates, and harsh beauty standards that contribute to sex tourism and fetishization.
Now, you've probably all seen this video. Basically, this woman comes to Korea and is shocked that not everyone looks like a K-pop star. And then she claims that she's been gaslit by the entire country.
While Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy's crimes have rightfully been seared into global consciousness through documentaries, memorials, and films, Imperial Japan's reign of terror across Asia remains as sort of an afterthought. The numbers defy comprehension, and they were all systematically butchered. Yet today, Japan is mostly just remembered as having 2 bombs dropped on them and bombing Pearl Harbor. There's many factors, including the West not wanting Japan to turn to communism after World War II, beneficial trade, occupation, and also the fact that European fascists tend to draw more sympathy from Westerners, especially in the United States. I mean, we had Jim Crow during the same time as the Nuremberg laws. We really weren't in a position to look down on Nazi Germany that much.
It's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it. Fuck 'em. Fuck.
Atrocities were committed by Japan, such as Unit 731 and the rape of Nanjing, where soldiers turned mass rape into a sport, bayoneting pregnant women for amusement and taking in comfort women. Unit 731 was a covert Japanese unit that did many non-consensual biological experiments like smashing frozen people's limbs, watching them rot from disease like cholera, and dropping plague fleas on China. Japan also massacred 100,000 civilians in a single month for sport, dousing families in gasoline and laughing as they burned. This wasn't warfare, nor is it the noble depictions of kamikaze fighters dying for a nation that some people parrot and glamorize. They were demonic actions designed to break entire countries through terror. Much like what we did with Nazis from Germany, the US government cut a deal with Emperor Hirohito, shielding the royal family and elites from prosecution.
If you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Okay, time's up. Now get out.
Similar to Operation Paperclip, in exchange for conveniently shoving aside Unit 731's crimes, they traded their torture data and scientific findings to the US and other countries for immunity. Top war criminals were allowed to plead their cases and even claim insanity, and even one became a post-war prime minister after American influence spared him. Now, once again, this video isn't to do oppression Olympics or open old wounds for clickbait or trolling's sake. It's proof of my position that historical bias and how we perpetuate racial hierarchies dictate who we remember as monsters and not morality. Furthermore, simply sweeping their past under the rug or ignoring how it affects their politics and culture of today treats Japan as a country who was just in it for the ride instead of one of the many perpetrators of evil during the World War II era. Which actually brings us to our next segment. I'm all about hearing people out and also expanding my perceptions, so I got a friend of the channel, a fellow YouTuber, my token Japanese friend, to speak on these issues and his experience of being Japanese. He also elected to stay anonymous because, in his words, you are going to get a lot of death threats for this video and I do not want any of them. Also, I've added closed captions because of some of the dips in his audio because Japan was threatening to execute him and cut his connection if he said anything more, so.
Hi, my name is Kenta. I'm a Japanese person, and let me start off by saying that I, like many, do appreciate Japanese culture. I worked as a sushi chef, I grew up learning the language, I have family there, and have lived with Japanese people all of my life. I actually used to want to live there as a kid, and I went there, felt like I belonged, and tried to become fluent in the language to meet even more Japanese people. And then I came to realize, holy shit, there's a lot that gets shoved to the side, and I'd rather not live there anymore. Many people, like Ozzy has said, have come to view Japan and its people as perfect. The anime, the beautiful scenery, and the friendly people all seem great, but for some reason the West seems to push aside its real issues in favor of putting Japan and its people in the limelight. A lot of Japanese people are cold, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's not a whole lot of warmth there, and it's not their fault. Everyone's overworked, the government is in shambles, and sexual assault is rampant there. People become prostitutes at young ages. There's an insane amount of PDF files for its, Ozzy over here can make 20 cents, I'm not going to say the word. And don't even get me started on their tastes in dirty material, because it involves a lot of essay, and I'm hoping, again, he's trying to get his bag. I'm not going to talk about, I'm not going in depth.
Can't get shadow banned again.
Exactly. No, we can't have that. But going over some more of the bad, what is going on with the, high school anime, what's the obsession of it? Well, because that's when most Japanese people feel at their most free. It's a time when they're not working as hard as they do for work or post-secondary, and as such, a lot of anime likes to capture the feelings that it gave them. Unfortunately, this includes the pervertedness of being a teenager, and as such, they like to incorporate some tropes that are, suffice to say, tasteless. I don't want to see a minor getting sexualized. Is that too hard to ask for? Would it have really been so hard to make these characters of age, I don't think so. It's only when you really look into things that you begin to realize just how cold and depressing your world is, and honestly, if you've met people from there, it's pretty common to hear that they don't want to go back home. And it's not in the, oh, my vacation or studies are going wonderfully, don't want to go home. Wait, it's the, fuck, I have to go back to working 12-hour shifts and keeping my head down situation. There's a reason there are nets outside some office buildings. There's a reason a member of parliament was joking about removing women's uteruses if they don't have kids by 30. And while they said that was a joke, I'm calling bullshit. I'm not gonna lie. They're notoriously crazy. And there's a reason why Nintendo's so fucking evil. Those bastards. I'm not going to vilify the entire nation. That's unfair not only to them, but to me, goddammit. A ton of my people don't fit into that category of buying into prostitution or being PDFs. A lot of them do have real principles, and there are some extremely loyal ones that I've met in my life who I've known since I was a kid. So to say that the entire country is rotten would be disingenuous. I'm honestly just sick of seeing the mainstream treat Japan like it's some sort of gold standard, when in reality, it's a very backwards nation trying to keep itself afloat. Its technology is sick, anime is great, and its culture is one of a kind, but don't treat it like it's the greatest thing in the world, because a lot of it is a mask. That's unfair to not only your culture, but Japan's too. Appreciate your culture more, and stop running away from your problems. Moving to Japan won't fix them. If anything, it'll just amplify them. And obviously there's a lot more I'd like to say, but, I'll bring it back to osteoporosis over here, so...
Which is where we arrive at the model minority myth and East Asian fetishization, which I cover in another video, but anyways. Japan is often hailed as a perfect example of order and discipline, with people outside the culture, especially on the right, viewing it as a model of what a society should be. A homogenous population with a strong culture of tradition, work ethic, and gender roles. The model minority myth, which I cover in a past video, is race rhetoric where a minority, often Asians, specifically East Asians, are compared to other minorities as being the best. More submissive, able to assimilate better, smarter, doesn't do as much crime as the Browns. While Japan and other East Asians aren't necessarily minorities in their own countries, this Western view of a racial hierarchy still bleeds over into their perception of these countries. To explain this dynamic a bit better, I will introduce probably the most memed on country on the internet right now, which also happens to be in Asia, India. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, India is going through it on IG Reels especially. Probably the worst modern PR of all time. The poop war video did no favor to you guys, and I'm not gonna lie. Like come on, it's street vendor food clips versus Attack on Titan. I'm sorry, it's an uphill battle. I also will say there are definitely cultural issues that need to be addressed, especially in relation to the rampant misogyny, horrible laws pertaining to women, and the widespread occurrences of sexual assault in South Asia. However, there is a strong level of bias that the internet has been doing in relation to treating India like some otherworldly anomaly. In the West, sexual assault and misogyny in South Asian countries are often framed through the lens of them being backwards, poverty-stricken predators, and their women being highly unattractive. High-profile cases like the 2012 Delhi gang rape or the Monitor Lizard story are frequently used to demonize South Asian people, especially when it comes to immigration. Once again, these things are bad, and I will call a spade in saying some places have cultural and governmental issues they need to change. In contrast though, issues of sexual assault and misogyny in East Asian countries like Japan and South Korea are often perceived differently by Western audiences. Gender inequality or fucked up practices in these societies are often frequently downplayed or ignored. Is a category of animated and drawn porn that features prepubescent children, which originated in Japan and is legalized and normalized. Junko Furuta's infamous 40-day torture, murder, and the slap on the wrist her assaulters got has to be one of the most messed up modern documentations of a crime, especially against a woman. Train groping and creep shots are so prevalent they had to make gendered streetcars and put mandatory shutter sounds on all Japanese phones. They even have a term for it called chikan, along with making prawn categories about it. Now imagine the comment sections on an IG reel saying Mumbai introduced camera shutter law to combat creep shots, or the fact that it was only in 2023 that they reformed their SA laws to include men as victims and women as potential perpetrators. With all of these aforementioned things, these issues are rarely ever mentioned in comparison to the very awful crimes and cultural atrocities other cultures and countries have. While it is true that Japan on its face has lower SA stats than many other countries, parroting that fact ignores their own legislation of what constitutes as SA, along with ignoring the cultural stigmas and intimidation people have with speaking out and reporting said crimes, as with many other countries. The key difference between what sparks outrage and what does not lies in how both regions are perceived. South Asia is often seen as a place where women's rights are under constant threat due to being a backwards and pervy region, while East Asia is viewed as a more developed region where gender issues are minimized or overlooked in favor of celebrating its economic success and cultural exports. This disparity in perception often leads to an incomplete understanding of society in both regions, often pretending to care about issues like sexual assault when really it's just a front to push racial agendas and culture war points. White nationalists and other people who adhere to race science also often fetishize Japan as a supposed model of an ethnically homogeneous and culturally pure nation, aligning with their own xenophobic ideals. This distorted admiration extends to Japanese pop culture, where far-right figures often consume anime and manga with progressive or non-Western influences while simultaneously rejecting progressive social movements and diversity in their own countries. While claiming to uphold traditional values and the supremacy of their own race, they indulge in material that contradicts their own moral posturing about protecting Western civilization from degeneracy. Speaking of degeneracy, the fascination with lolly content among white nationalists highlights their ideological tendencies and disturbing fixations. Many far-right figures who condemn LGBTQ rights and call them groomers and threats to children simultaneously defend or consume media that sexualizes or obscenely depicts minors, justifying it as just cartoons or Japanese culture or
she's actually a 1,000-year-old mythical creature.
This double standard exposes their true motivations, a desire to control and sexualize youth under the guise of preserving tradition. The lolly trope, often portraying infantilized female characters who are obviously underage, appeals to regressive power fantasies that align with authoritarian and patriarchal worldviews. By fetishizing Japan as both a racial ideal and a haven for taboo fantasies, white nationalists reveal their movement's core contradictions, claiming moral superiority while indulging in exploitative fantasies. and a lot of them suffer from like some sort of derangement syndrome where they talk over Japanese people or feel the need to pretend that they're Japanese or that they could speak for the values. Like for the Assassin's Creed Shadows controversy, there were a sizable amount of Japanese people who didn't care about Yasuke's inclusion, but there was a lot of weirdos on Twitter and other social media platforms that treated this as the most disrespectful thing to Japanese culture and their ancestors. So the main idea of this video is that when we reduce Japan, or any culture for that matter, to a series of positive marketable traits only, we miss out on the full complexity of the society and broader constructive conversations. When we view Japan only through the lens of coolness or perfection, or other countries as shitholes, we fail to have the tough conversations that are necessary to understand how societies work on a deeper level, along with how to improve them. It's crucial to challenge the image of Japan that has been constructed for the sake of marketability and convenience. We need to stop pretending that it's all cherry blossoms, clean streets, and friendly people, because while those things are in Japan, it doesn't tell the whole story. Like with all the other countries on earth, there are real societal issues in Japan, from the pressure to conform to a lack of mental health resources. These are issues that need attention, not just for the sake of Japan, but for the sake of all societies that fall victim to a similar process of either romanticization or demonization. This isn't about tearing down Japan or being critical for the sake of it. It's about starting a conversation about the complexities that go unnoticed when we only look at the shiny, surface level aspects of culture. It's about acknowledging the whole picture and asking ourselves why we've been conditioned to focus on only one side of it. So let's dig a little deeper. We can admire Japan for all its contributions to the world, its art, technology, and cultural exports, while still asking difficult questions about its internal dynamics, challenges, and the way it's perceived both within and outside of its borders. If you've gotten this far into the video, as always, thank you for watching. This video took a pretty long time, half because of procrastination, half because of all the research, but hopefully start some interesting convos and has some people change their mind or look deeper into cultures that they didn't know about, or, you know, ask themselves why there's a new minority to dogpile every week or something. I don't know. It's 4:30 a.m. right now, so yeah, if you like it, thank you. Next video, or next few videos, should be media analysis, and yeah,
thanks for the 10.